are you saying that, or are you asking me whether we are, as a Muslim, do I pray to the shin?
No, I'm not asking that.
Okay.
What I am asking you is, can you pray to the shin? Because if it is Allah, why not? So if on one hand you're saying you're worshipping Allah, but on the next breath you're saying you don't worship the word of Allah, then you are worshipping some of Allah and not the whole of Allah. Ali is talking to someone. Ali!
Got a question, Ali.
Got a question for you.
Just a minute.
It's only a business meeting. Gio, you can have this business meeting anytime you like.
Just a second.
Is it personal?
Yeah, just a second.
All right.
Are you okay though?
It's probably they just don't want to talk to us.
Is that true?
Ali, you've spent 4 years running away from me, bro.
I've been listening for just 5 minutes.
Wait, 4 years running away from me, bro. When are we going to talk? Quick question.
What's the question, Bob?
Can you worship the face of Allah? So the face of Allah is equivalent to Allah.
Of course, it's like saying,
Is that also true of his hands?
it's like saying, for example, how can I say, my roots are thanking me or thanking my hand.
Let put the question another way. Is the face of Allah equivalent to his? Is the face of Allah equivalent to his hands? Are they the same thing?
We don't believe a hand in this hand, it has a limb, like I was discussing with someone. You don't say hand is, if you say a hand, it implies like a limb. If it's a clock's hand,
Yeah.
we're not talking about it.
Now notice to use the metaphors of composite. So there's a plurality within the divinity.
Not really, because the thing is,
Contradiction.
but the thing is here, it's because you guys are stuck in the Trinity dilemma, you're genuinely looking for us to have the same one. We don't. And I'm sorry that we
If you've just accepted, one second. If you,
Look, I entertained the question. What
Can we
I'm saying
just-
is-
True,
I
true.
say is this, yeah? Just because you have a problem with Trinity and we don't be upset with us. We don't have it.
I
We
think,
have one God. We have-
Ali,
the arm is another God.
Ali,
The leg is another
everyone heard you contradict yourself. You just explained God as a composite and then you denied the composite.
God. My hands up, you got me bad. I got
When we put this video up, go and listen to your own words. If Allah's hands is not his face,
I think this conversation needs...
if Allah's shin is not his face, then that's a plurality. You can't get away from that. So that's a composite. So it's a differentiated unity, isn't it?
This is not...
No, I never said it was Trinity. I said it was a differentiated unity.
That's your problem. not ours.
Yeah, it's a differentiated unity.
You know when you're in school and somebody, oh, you have the lurgies. It's like, no, you have the lurgies too. You have the lurgies, stick it. I don't want it.
Yeah.
Why are you trying to put the Trinity on me? You don't have Trinity. One Tawheed, one worship, and that's the reason why. You know how many
What, one God made up of a hand, made up of a face, made up of a shin, made up of a defined face. According to Islam, you can't say that anything that is our face is Allah's face. Well, that's my point.
No, but why is it that we worship?
That's my point. I'm not trying to straw man Islam. I'm not trying to straw man Islam.
We have a conversation after this.
Yeah. Okay. So what we saw, once again, Ali Dawah running away from a debate. But Ali Dawah said,
What did he say, Bob?
Ali Dawah said that Allah's face is not his hand.
Ah, okay.
That's what Ali Dawah said. Now that means that Allah is a composite. That the concept of Tawheed involves plurality. Because if the face is not the face is not the hands and the hands are not the shin, then that means you have a composite. These are differentiated aspects of Allah. So it's a differentiated unity.
Ali Dawah was a polytheist.
Well, the thing is, let's not straw man. I'm not trying to say that Muslims believe in multiple gods. I'm not trying to say that. I accept Muslims believe in one God.
We do.
I am agreeing with you. I do believe in one God. I'm a Christian. Christians believe in one God. But the point is that if Allah is a composite, if Allah's face...
Sorry, I'm not.
Explain what's a composite.
Yeah. So I'll explain. But let me finish my sentence and then I'll explain. So if Allah is a composite, there is a plurality within the unity of Allah. There is a plurality within the eternity of Allah. Which means that Muslims have no argument against the Trinity. Now, what is a composite? You asked a fair question, here's a fair answer. I'm a composite. I have arms, I have legs, I have feet, nose, eyes, lips. Let me answer your first question. Yeah, you asked a question, listen to the answer. You asked what a composite was, let me explain it to you. Okay, so a composite is me. I am a composite. Why am I a composite? Because my arm is mine, but it isn't me. I can live without my arm. You can cut it off and chuck it away, but I will still live. So Allah is a composite. That's what a composite is. What, that I'm a composite? I do know that. Well, do you believe that Allah has a face? Does the Qur'an say? Are you sure? Right, so why don't you know? You read the Qur'an, right? You read the Qur'an, right? Did I just see one Muslim say that Ali isn't a Muslim? I don't know, that's what it sounded like. I don't know if you caught it. Yeah, but he said, just because you call me brother doesn't mean we're brothers. Yeah, I think that's what he said. So here's the problem for the Muslims. Is your book says that your God has parts. Two hands, both on the right hand side, two eyes, a shin, a face. He says, where? That's a fair question. So let me show you. Let me show you. Surah 68:42. Surah 68:42. Yeah. So what is a part?
Don't play with words. Show me where he said he has.
He says it's playing with words to say what a part is, when that's the crux of the argument. Okay. So, Surah 68:42. Right. A part, ladies and gentlemen, is something that is of the thing, but not the totality of the thing. Did you get that, JC? A part is something that is of the thing, but not the totality of the thing. So in Surah 68, Ayah 42, it says, yeah, let's ask Mansour. Okay, yeah, let's talk about it. Okay. So I'm not going to strawman Islam. Islam teaches that anything that I say by face cannot be ascribed to Allah's face.
Bob, did you find the verse?
Yeah.
Not yet.
So
Sorry, can you repeat
Did
that
you
again?
find the verse?
yeah, he's just being rude. Would you agree he's being rude? Right?
Not yet.
Kind of just went away.
Sammy, be nice.
Yeah, but you did go away.
Why can't you call out someone who's being rude? Does Islam prevent you from standing up for justice?
You do know that I call out even Muslims.
Right, well, call him out right now then.
No, but I'm not
He's
gonna
being
do it-
rude.
I'm not going to do it under your demand, because then I would do it because you told me.
Well, I'm doing it because you can see that
Did you
it's
find the
wrong
verse,
to
Bob?
behave like
Did you
that.
find the
Go
verse?
after to talk to
Did
him
you
after.
find the verse?
Would you say he's being rude now?
If I do it now, why would I do it
You
now?
were
Because
talking to
told
me.
to do
Do
it.
you agree that it's wrong?
Should we talk about the Quran?
Okay, so let's talk about this.
Did
Right.
you find the verse?
So,
Or not yet?
to answer your question directly,
Yeah.
without straw manning, when I say face, what I mean is something like my face and your face. But I accept that Islam
we didn't find
teaches
the verse
that
where he said
face,
Allah has
that
a
anything that I can conceive of as a face is not like Allah's face.
Yeah.
Because the very fact that I can conceive of it and Allah is only other to his creation means that these two things are not comparable.
It's well explained.
Yeah, so I'm not straw manning Islam, am I?
Yeah, no, you're not.
Right, but Islam does teach that Allah has body parts.
It's a very complicated conversation.
Well, let's just read this verse.
Yeah.
Surah 68, Ayah 42. On the day when the shin shall be laid bare. Does Allah have a shin?
It's a bit of, negative theology, right?
Yeah.
So it's basically what I do as a Muslim, right? Personally, and there are Muslims who have different opinion. But if you ask me personally, I affirm, but I do not really dabble into the philosophical implications of what it actually means. So to me, it's like I affirm that Allah has a shin,
Thank you.
but I can't explain to you what the shin is.
Great. So we agree that Allah has a shin. There's no dispute here.
I affirm that if Allah, what does it say? Actually, shin?
Yeah. I heard the Prophet saying, Allah will lay bare his shin, and then all the believers, men and women, will prostrate themselves before him. Now, is the shin equivalent to Allah? Is the shin the fullness of Allah?
It's a very difficult question. I can't answer that. I'm sorry.
Well, let me ask the question in another way. Is the shin the same as Allah's face?
I believe that the attributes of Allah are Allah.
That's not my question.
Part of Allah.
You guys, you got to realise, if I ask
No,
a
but-
question and you don't answer my question, I'm just going to ask the question again,
No,
and
no,
then
I
you
hear that.
look silly.
No, but you can also.
I'll ask the question
No,
again.
but you can also appreciate that I may not be able to answer the question because I don't know how to.
If you affirm that Allah has a shin, do you also affirm that Allah has a face?
Yeah.
Right, if you affirm that Allah has a shin and you affirm that Allah has a face, you have to affirm that the shin is not the face.
Again, you're asking me metaphysical questions. I can't really answer those metaphysical questions. It's very beyond my.
It logically follows from the premise.
Logic? When you
Yes,
talk about
yes,
God
yes,
and his
absolutely.
essence?
Logically, if you affirm that Allah has a shin, which you have, and you affirm that Allah has a face, which you have to affirm that the shin is not the face.
Why?
Why? Because if you affirm that the Allah's shin and face are the same thing, then you aren't affirming that Allah has a shin or a face.
Because what you're doing is the approximation to chin and face is mirrored by creation, because you're saying that your face and your shin are not the same, therefore the creator, it can't be the same. So that's the logic really.
So when the Quran states, so hold on, let's follow your logic through, right? Because you're now going down the line of saying that the shin and the face are the same thing.
I didn't say that. I just affirmed that they exist.
Right, if you affirm that they
But I'm
exist,
not
are
really
they the same?
I'm not interested whether they're the same or not. I just affirmed.
Can you worship the shin?
I worship Allah. I worship Allah. And if
That's not my question.
yeah,
Can you worship the shin?
it's a very odd question.
I'm asking it. Can you worship the shin?
I find it strange.
You might do. Still answer the question. Can you worship the shin?
I can't answer that question.
You can't answer that
I
question.
can't. It's not because I don't want to. It's just because the way it's posed and the way my understanding of God, I don't know. It doesn't make sense.
I'm saying to you that your concept of God is a muddled, confused concoction of Islam.
How is that?
Because the Quran is saying that Allah has a face and Allah has a shin.
Surah Al-Qalam, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not straw manning Islam.
Yeah.
This is what the Quran says.
Can you also
The Quran also says that he has an eye. It also says that it has a hand.
Yeah, but like so.
So are these things real things or not?
Yeah, but the question is what I would ask you then. Since you're pressing me to answer to you what the shin, whether I'm praying to the shin.
No, I didn't say that.
No, whether you
Don't straw man me. I'm not straw manning you.
Oh, no, I'm okay. May I ask you? I should ask you. Are you saying that, or are you asking me whether we are, as a Muslim, do I pray to the shin?
No, I'm not asking that.
Okay.
What I am asking you is, can you pray to the shin?
Okay. Okay.
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
Because if it is Allah, why not? Can you not worship the shin of Allah? Is it not divine? Are you committing shirk if you worship
No,
Allah's shin?
I'm not, but I'm.
So you can worship the shin of
I'm
Allah.
compatibilizing Allah into shin and hand when Allah is.
But is that what the Quran does?
I don't think that was Allah's. I don't. Think
So when it says Allah has a shin, is that a real statement or not?
I don't know how. Maybe. I don't know. Does it have to be understood literally as well? Like, you know.
Do Salafi? You're a Salafist, right?
I don't ascribe to Salaf as the modern inclination of Salafi. No, I don't.
So you don't. So, but you affirm that Allah has a shin.
Yeah, but
That Allah's shin is a real thing.
so what was it? Hold on.
Surah 68, Ayah 42.
42. Yeah. Honestly, I'm not trying to be difficult or anything.
What I mean by shin, at the risk of repeating myself, because this is the brother already asked this question, but yeah. So what I'm saying is that the Quran affirms that Allah has a shin, but I accept the Quran also says that Allah's shin is not like our shin or any other shin in the world of creation. Right. But the point is, does Allah have a shin and can you worship it?
And you know what I found so very strange? I've never ever in my life heard that verse in this way.
Well, I've just shown it to you. I'm not making it up.
Okay, here it's not saying that. Where's it saying?
Well, now you're just pointing out that Muslims change their translation.
No, this is not true. I've never heard of it.
I'm sorry, this is not true. Like these people,
you have
these.
Qur'an on your
One second, before you just. This is translated in Saudi Arabia by Arabs.
Have you ever heard shin? It's not saying that.
Yeah.
I've never heard it before. Well, I've never heard that.
Well, maybe, bro.
It says here.
Maybe you should stop being Arabized, and maybe you should.
Just a second, yeah.
Okay, so
Sorry, bro.
it's all right.
Just have some patience.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also, well, I'm not trying to be difficult. I'm trying to reason with you. Okay. But why occasionally for you not decrease?
We need like a TikTok. TikTok.
Checking the
Basically, what you've got, guys, is the translations of the Quran are in contradiction to one another. The translation of the Quran is in contradiction to one another. Can you read Arabic, Ali? Can you read Arabic, Ali? Are you fully Arabized yet? Ali, are you fully Arabized? I just want you to confirm if you can read Arabic, whether the Arabic says Allah has a shin. No? Ali's lost his tongue. Cat's got his tongue. And the Muslims are still trying to figure out what their holy book says.
No.
Despite the fact that they've got, despite the fact. Fabrication by Saudi Arabia.
I've never heard that before ever.
Yeah, apparently, let me just show you. Brother, come here, I want to show you something, right? This is a fabrication, apparently. Look at that. Who translated it, where they translated it from. Yeah, so here it is. Here's the Muslim argument. Yeah, Dr. Muhammad Taqi Din Al-Hilali and Dr. Muhammad Mushin Khan, of Islamic University, Al-Madinah, Al-Munawwara. I want to give you a message from a non-fully Arabized Muslim that you're fabricating your Quran. You despots, you linguistic liars, you causers of fitna, you deviants. This Muslim brother knows better than you, and you're Arabic, and you of Al-Madinah University, you are liars and fabricators. Because this translation says something different. Who translated that?
I've double checked here.
Who translated that? Who translated that?
6848?
Yeah,
Who translated that?
Yeah, I'm going to have a look. But you double check as well. We double checked here already. It's not here. It's not in here.
Brother.
Something wrong with that.
Brother.
And you know what?
Are you saying that Dr. Muhammad Taqi Al-Din is wrong? Are you saying he's wrong?
Hold on. When you mentioned that,
Answer the question. Are you saying he's wrong?
No, what
The
we're saying
translation
is
is
what
wrong.
you're holding in your hand
So you're saying Dr. Muhammad's wrong?
No.
the translation is wrong.
So Dr. Muhammad is wrong?
The translation is wrong.
Who translated it, bro?
Could be printing mistake.
Do you not see why I laugh at you guys?
But why are you laughing at us?
I'm laughing at you because this is so desperate.
Oh, but
This is so desperate, guys.
No, it's cool.
no, but we,
Totally
but
desperate.
We double checked on 3 months. It's not saying that.
I'm sorry, guys, but all you've
incorrect.
demonstrated is that you can't translate your book properly.
And you know what?
That's all you've demonstrated. You haven't proven that your translation is correct.
But you know also what I found strange is because I knew of the hadith. That's a hadith like that with shins and things like that.
Okay.
But I've never heard of an ayat that talks about this. And I've read the Quran.
So we showed the hadith. We showed the hadith at the same time as the verse.
Yeah, but I think that's.
Remember, hold on. Remember.
That's a mistake. Bob.
No, 1 second. So not only is the Muslim scholars from Madinah University wrong in how they translate it, but they're also wrong about which hadiths they ascribe to the verse.
This is not a handwritten book, is it?
1 second.
It's a printed, isn't it?
One second.
Is it printed?
6842. Do you know what this is called, brother? This is called desperation clutching at straws.
Okay, fair enough.
That's what you're doing right now. You're clutching at straws.
I thought I was trying to be transparent, but this
No. I appreciate.
Regardless of whatever, this is not from the Quran. That verse.
No,
it's-
I'm sorry, but do you read Arabic?
Yeah, I do read Arabic.
So you can read Arabic
Yeah, I can read Arabic.
fluently.
Yes, but
Okay,
I'm not the best reader, but I can read.
So
but-
not fluently.
Yeah, but
Right.
this is not from the Quran.
Okay,
It's not.
okay,
It's not.
okay.
We've double checked now a few times.
So Surah 42, Surah 68:42, right, says
Can I actually read all of it?
the day when the shin shall be laid bare. 1 second, don't touch my Quran.
Sorry.
Yeah, and here is the hadith that the Muslim scholars of Madinah University attached to this verse.
So it's a hadith.
Narrated, you're not even listening. Narrated by Abu Sa'id, I heard the Prophet saying, Allah will lay bare his shin. So the Quran says that Allah has a shin, and the hadith says that Allah has a shin. And the Muslims are saying that the translation is wrong because, why? Why? Because they are embarrassed by the verse. Look,
I'm not embarrassed.
I'll show you.
I'm just trying to establish what the translation.
Allah has a shin, according to this passage. And then you've got a hadith here that's given by the scholars.
42. Okay.
Day when the shin shall be laid bare.
Yeah, and now read the hadith that they put to it as well.
Oh, listen, we've been looking at the wrong verse. We've been looking at 48.
They've been looking at the wrong verse.
Hadiths are unreliable anyway.
Yeah. What?
No. No, let's go to 42.
Let's
Sorry,
go
I
to
was-
42.
Yeah.
You can't judge anything based on hadiths. They are
Brother, you've been hoodwinked.
With me?
Yeah. Believing in Islamic monotheism. It's a hoodwink, mate.
What about your God of the Bible? Did he have a chin?
So yeah, we'll address that
correct.
part. Thank you. So I'm not lying.
We were looking at 48.
Fair
whilst
enough.
that was
Yeah,
42.
Honest mistake. Honest mistake. Let's move past it. Honest mistake. So now that we've all established that the Quran does say that Allah has a shin, back to my original question: can you worship the shin of Allah?
What does shin mean? This bit here.
No offense, but I've already answered that question twice so far.
I'm gonna have to think about this.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, next time maybe we can have a conversation.
Right.
I have to think about
So when you think about it,
Yeah.
let's put it another word. Do you agree that the Quran are the words of Allah?
Yeah.
Do you agree that the words of Allah are eternal?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you worship the words of Allah?
Can you worship the words of Allah? I mean, you worship Allah in okay.
So can you worship these words?
Again, let me think about it. Because with the verse, I know, for example, that you can swear by the Quran.
But it's
because
talking about the wicked. It says the wicked. It's talking about you, Bob, the wicked.
Says
It's not talking
it
about
says
him, a Muslim.
this is actually irrelevant to my point.
No, but it is because
How is it relevant to my
Because it
point?
refers to the wicked, i.e., would the wicked be able to bow down to Allah and His shin? So the
Thank
question,
you.
So the question to yourself on the day of judgment, when you see Allah,
Yep.
will you bow down to His shin?
Yep.
Will you?
So will you?
No, but it's addressed to the wicked.
That's
you,
fine.
Bob.
That's fine. I won't be able to.
You are okay. Case closed.
So will you?
But are you the wicked?
I'm not
'Cause it's
wicked.
addressed to the
It's
wicked.
actually irrelevant to my
Bob,
point. It's irrelevant to my
I
point.
see your point.
Because it's
I'm gonna have to think
Bob
about it.
Elder.
Your
Okay.
point is like, if there's a shin,
But that's you can
do
say
you
you're
worship?
wicked.
So when you go back,
yeah, the verse is not talking about you. It's
Right.
talking about the wicked.
bro, when you go back,
Beware
bro,
of the
I'm not even
dirty sin
disputing
of
what he's
Allah
saying.
will be bad,
I'm
and
not
the
even
wicked
disputing what he's
will be
saying.
asked to prostrate. And
His
this-
point is totally irrelevant
here's
to
the
what I'm
tafsir.
saying.
Here's the
It's
tafsir.
totally
The
irrelevant
day
to
the
what
sin
I'm
will be
saying.
uncovered, and they
Totally
invited to
irrelevant
prostrate,
to
but
what I'm
they,
saying.
the disbelievers, Bob,
Totally
will not be able
irrelevant to
so
what
he's
I'm
asking
saying.
you about this
Totally
verse, would you
irrelevant
bow
to
down?
what I'm saying.
But Allah is not talking about you. He's talking
Totally
about the
irrelevant to what I'm saying. Totally irrelevant to what I'm saying. The point that I'm making. So when you go back to continue your Arabization, okay?
I'll try not to.
Yeah, when you go back to when you go back to continue your Arabization.
I am from Congo.
Yeah,
I am from the Mutitila tribe.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to be that. I love Arabic as a language, but also love
Okay, great stuff, great
English
stuff.
language or the Persian language. for that.
but you worship in Arabic to an Arabic city, copying an Arab man. That's Arabization.
How is that? Jesus was not speaking English. Or
Brother, if you care about Congolese culture, you will take careful note of what happened to Coptic culture and what happened to Nubian culture in the Sudan.
Coptic culture. You know what?
But this is a separate point.
let's see
This
that-
is a separate point.
Okay.
What I am pointing out to you is this.
Yeah.
Okay? Your God is a composite. There is a plurality within the unity of Allah. And if there is a plurality within the unity of Allah, you have no objection to the Trinity. None.
But this is what I'm trying to say. You know what? You're doing this again, and this is something for you to think of for next week.
I can think about it now.
Okay. you
I don't
can.
need next week.
What you're doing is you're mirroring what you understand to be the chin and the face, and because we know that shin and the face are not the same, you're applying this back to Allah. We are saying to you, we don't even know what shin or face means.
Yes, and that brings me on to another point. But before I go on to bring out this other point, I want to just point out to you that logically, if you affirm that Allah has a shin and you affirm that Allah has a face, logically you can't say they are the same.
Why?
Because you therefore can't affirm that Allah has a shin and a face.
But don't you see that you're involved in conjecture right now? Let me tell you why.
The whole of Islam is conjecture.
Fair enough. But you know what? No, hold on. Let me talk as well.
No, I will. What I want to point out though is if you are saying that when we say shin and face, we can't, anything that we understand by shin or face is what we can think of, that's not applicable to Allah, then what you're saying is these words don't mean anything. Because if you're saying that when I say the word shin, I cannot think of anything that I conceive as a shin in the whole of creation and apply it to Allah, then that means the word shin doesn't mean anything to Allah in terms of our description of him.
I don't. Again,
It does make sense. It does make sense.
I don't understand you.
But the point I was trying to make here is that it's a lot of conjecture that you do, because first of all, you talk about very metaphysical. It's a metaphysical discussion. You're talking about the Day of Judgment, which is far removed from where we are. You're talking about a realm that we have no knowledge of. So you're talking about Allah and His face and His chin. I'm saying to you as a Muslim, when I read these verses, yes, I'm a human being. Maybe sometimes these things may come in my mind where I think of a chin in a face. But what is the spirit of what is actually saying that? And he brought this...
The wicked
not
will
only
bow.
that, but it says they won't be able to prostrate. And when you prostrate, it means...
to worship.
So maybe, the shin may represent something else. That's what I'm trying to say to you. Let me go back, double check what shin and what the scholar said about shin, because I'm sure they've discussed this in the past before.
But you already said earlier that I perfectly explained the position that when we say shin. So I'm not trying to strawman Islam.
I know you're not.
That's what the Dawah team do. That's what your teacher Ali Dawah does. He strawmans Christianity.
He's my friend.
Yeah,
He's a friendly brother.
yeah,
not a
right.
teacher. But anyway, I get what you're saying.
So here's my point.
Yeah.
Here's my point. If your God is a composite,
that's you're saying that. I don't.
I
believe
have
that.
not heard any reason to not believe that from you.
I just explained to you that when you say composite, you mean God is in different parts?
Yeah, exactly. It's different parts.
Why is it in different? Because there's different.
Great question.
Because different limbs are mentioned.
Yeah.
But
So
that's
let's
proves my point.
No, it doesn't. It really doesn't, because if you've
It's a very materialistic understanding of God.
if you've got parts, no. Well, what you're bearing in mind, you're accusing the Quran of this.
Of what?
Of giving a materialistic description of Allah.
Remember what I was trying to say
You
to
affirm the shin.
No,
you
no.
affirm the face.
Yeah, but it does not mean...
Yes, thank you.
But it does not mean that I affirm any materiality to it. It does not mean that I affirm any cells or even directions to it. I'm not affirming that.
I get you.
I'm affirming the word.
Right, so
That's it.
you're
I
affirming
stopped there.
you're
I stopped
affirming
there.
a word that is meaningless.
It's not meaningless.
So what does it mean to say Allah has a face? What is a face? What is the face of Allah?
For example, I remember one of the verses says, it does not matter where you direct your prayers towards to, Allah's face is how does the verse go again?
So Allah's face is everywhere.
He's basically, you can say that in other words.
Can someone bring the verse?
I'm fine with that.
Habibi, can you bring the
But the
verse?
point is, what is a face?
Sorry?
What is a face?
Yeah.
Why is the face?
Yeah.
What is the face of Allah?
So
I'm
the
not
meaning-
denying that the face of Allah is everywhere. I'm just asking, what is the face of Allah?
No, but the meaning of that ayat, for example, the way I've always understood it, it means that it does not matter, don't pay too much attention to the ritual, per se.
Yeah.
Just know that Allah is all encompassing, the ground of all.
I can work with that. I'm not even going to argue about that.
Yeah. So,
but the point
when you
that,
say to me face, when you say to me
but
face,
but are you
that's why-
saying that the Quran does not affirm that Allah actually has a face? Is it? I'll put my question in really simple rubrics. Is the face and the shin of Allah a reality?
What direction you face Allah's face?
I'll say yeah.
Yeah, right. So I know Muslims don't agree.
Ash'ari say
Yes.
no.
Yeah.
And
The Ash'ari say no.
Literalists,
Yeah.
say
The Salafi.
yes, but even though they affirm it as yes, they say it's unlike his creation.
Okay. So are you a Salafi or Ash'ari?
I'm probably leaning more to the literalists.
There's more towards, and you're definitely Salafi.
No, I am.
I'm not a Salafi, by the way.
No, no.
You affirm the reality of the face and the shin.
Yeah, but
that's
I'm
not the
lit-
Ash'ari position.
I'm not literalistic in that
Okay.
understanding.
So here's the problem, right?
I just affirm it.
If Allah has parts, then you need to worship the whole of Allah. So you're not committing shirk by worshipping his hand or his shin or his face. If you deny that you can worship the shin or the hand or the word of Allah, then you are committing shirk.
But more, certainly, if that was the case, well, let's go with what you're saying. Would I not, as a Muslim, find some rituals or some principles in Islam that somehow separates it? Like, for example, not you personally, but the Catholics do. Marry, yeah?
Yep.
Then have particular readings for Mary and particular rituals that they have to do.
Are you trying to suggest that Mary is part of our concept of God?
No, I remember, I didn't say you. I said...
No, are you saying that Catholics believe Mary is God?
No, they don't.
Good.
But
Good, just so long as we're clear about that.
No, they don't. But what I'm saying is, you know, when you have certain principles in a religion, there are certain things that those principles will make you to do, right?
Yeah.
So for me, the way I always understood, when I worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what I'm worshipping is not the stone, I'm not worshipping the direction.
I'm not accusing you of that.
Yeah, I'm worshipping the power, the creator that has created everything.
Does it include his word?
Do I worship the Qur'an? I don't worship the Qur'an per se.
So is the words of Allah, are the words of Allah separate from Allah?
No, they're part of him.
So that means that you're worshipping part of Allah, not the whole of Allah. Because if you, one second, these are your words. You said that you worship Allah, but you don't worship the Qur'an. But then you said the Qur'an is the word of Allah and it is not separable to Allah. So if on one hand you're saying you're worshipping Allah, but on the next breath you're saying you don't worship the word of Allah, then you are worshipping some of Allah and not the whole of Allah.
Okay, let me retract that back. So, so the Qur'an must have Qur'an. Okay, so when you say Qur'an, right, you mean the word, isn't it?
I'm talking about the word of Allah.
Yeah.
You mean the Quran?
No, I'm talking about the word of Allah.
There is no word of Allah.
So there's no word of Allah now.
Yeah.
So Allah doesn't have a word.
No, the Quran
No, the way you mean it.
The Quran is the speech of Allah.
You're right.
The speech of Allah, is it an attribute of
The
Allah?
speech of Allah.
Do you worship it?
No.
That's what I'm trying to say.
No, that's what I'm pointing out, bro. Yes, you've just said, no, I do not worship the speech of Allah. That means that you are not worshipping the totality of Allah, you are worshipping parts of Allah.
When you say worship the words, yeah, or the scripture, are you saying literally, because in the scripture there's also names of human beings and prophets. So when you say, do you worship the speech of Allah, are you saying that, am I also worshipping those people who are mentioned in the book, or am I worshipping the legislator who is legislating?
Right, so I am not saying to you what you do. I want to be clear about that. I don't want to strawman you. That's what the Dawah team do. That's your game. You strawman Christianity. I don't strawman Islam.
Okay.
But what I'm saying, I simply ask the question, because it doesn't matter what you answer. Either way, you're in trouble. The simple question that I asked you is, do you worship the speech of Allah? If the answer is yes, I do, then your God is a composite. If you say the answer is no, I don't, then your God is a composite. Because you are accepting that Allah is a plurality of attributes.
But this is what I'm trying to say. If that was the case, this is what I'm trying to say. You will never find in the Muslim world. This is what I'm trying to say. Your questions are valid, but they're a bit strange because you would never find a Muslim anywhere in the world holding up the Quran and worshipping it.
I know. I agree.
So that's what I'm trying to say to you. The way you pose these questions are a bit. I've never seen this before.
So it's called thinking. So the thing is, it's called thinking because if you have premise A, the speech of Allah is not separate from Allah. Premise B, a Muslim is commanded to worship Allah. Premise C, Muslims do not worship the speech of Allah, then A has contradicted C.
But how can you worship speech?
Because he's trying to say that he's giving
You
it,
follow
but the way
speech.
he's saying it.
You follow speech.
But then that's why there's hadith to see.
No, but what I'm trying to say, but how do you practically, how would you worship speech?
You can't.
So
you follow speech.
So
You listen to it.
by following the speech,
Then
you
it's
are
true.
worshipping Allah. Yeah, that's how you do it.
So by following the speech, you worship Allah. Does that include his speech?
Bro, you just, I don't know what you're doing, bro.
The thing is,
It doesn't really make sense.
no, it really does make sense. Because no, it really doesn't. Let me explain why. Because your Quran, not me, says that Allah has hands. Your Quran, not me, says that Allah has a shin. Your Quran, not me, says that Allah has speech.
But that's not me
Allah also says,
that's-
hold on. Sorry, Habib, no, go ahead.
So when you're commanded to worship Allah, is that Allah in his totality or just some of Allah?
No, but you see, Allah also says in the Quran, there are certain verses that are clear and there are certain verses that are a bit ambiguous.
Right.
And this one seems to be a bit ambiguous. So what I'm trying to say to you is this.
You're talking about Surah 2, Ayah 3, aren't you?
Yeah. So what I'm trying to say to you is this. Yeah. I don't know if that's the sort of.
It is.
What I'm trying to say.
I'm going to show it you.
What I'm trying to say to you is this. Yeah. That okay, worshipping Allah or worshipping a speech requires a method. What is the method? Following the speech. Following the speech is
Following what
worship.
he said.
Because remember, in Qur'an, in Islam, worship is very comprehensive. Yes. Sleeping with your wife is worship.
Yeah.
Giving a charity is worship. Applying perfume is worship.
Smiling.
You know, smiling is worship. So would you then say, oh, by smiling, do you worship smiling? No, we don't. We follow the speech.
No. You've conflated categories there.
I'm not confusing it. I'm saying
You've conflated categories.
No, I'm not conflating. What I'm saying to you is that if you ask me, do you worship the speech? The way I worship the speech or worship Allah is by following it. That's the methodology. That's
Okay.
the methodology to it.
Can we come to this verse about the ambiguous and the unambiguous verses?
So if you want to.
Right, hold on one second. I thought it was Surah 2, Ayah 4, but maybe I'm wrong.
Yes. Oh, do you want to Hamad and
So, because here's a problem.
ambiguous verses and clear verses?
Or is it 3, 4?
You know the ayat, there's ayat, there are verses who are ambiguous and verses who are clear.
Ah, sorry, it's 7.
Oh, you found it, yeah?
I think so. Yeah, okay, so it's Surah 3, Ayah 7. Okay? Now I'm going to show you another problem in your religion. Okay? I accept that the Quran establishes 2 categories of verses. Category 1, ambiguous verses. Category 2, unambiguous verses. I accept that. I am not disputing it. Here's my challenge to you.
You have good ones.
Show me in the Quran where the Quran defines for you what are the ambiguous verses and the unambiguous verses. So I'm not asking you to show me that it gives you those 2 categories. I accept it. I'm asking you to show me where it defines those 2 categories for you, as in what are ambiguous verses and what are unambiguous verses. What constitutes them?
The way I've always understood
From the
this-
Quran,
yeah.
not your opinion.
Yeah, but I mean, why does it have to show that, first of all?
Why does it have to? Great question. I'll show you.
Yeah.
I'll show you. So in Surah, here the question was a fair one. The answer, I think you will see, is also fair.
Because that ayat seems very open-ending.
I'm going to show you, bro.
You know?
I'm going to show you why it.
Ending, it just says, look, there's going to be verses.
I'm going to show you.
Then let's go back. Yeah.
So remember his question. I said, I accept the Quran gives me 2 categories, ambiguous verses and unambiguous verses. And then I asked him, where does the Quran define for you what constitutes the ambiguous and what constitutes the unambiguous? And his question was, why does it have to?
But
Here's why.
There's actually explanation
Go
for
ahead.
it.
What? I was just recapping.
Sorry.
Okay? I was just recapping. So now I'm going to answer his question. And here's why it should. Because in Surah 12, Ayah 111, the Quran states this. Indeed, in their stories there is a lesson for men of understanding. It is not a forged statement, confirmation of which were before it, and other scriptures. Sorry, that's in the. There's so many flipping brackets. And here we go. And a detailed explanation of everything. Now, bearing in mind, guys, the Quran says to me, not to you 3. It says, consider the Quran, and if it were from any other than Allah, I would be able to find contradictions. So here's the contradiction. The Quran says it is a detailed explanation of everything. A detailed explanation of everything. Now let's not strawman the Quran. Let's not strawman the Quran. I'm not saying that the Quran has to tell me Einstein's physics of relativity.
Okay.
But what I am saying is if the Quran touches upon a topic, the Quran should explain the topic.
Yeah.
So, the Quran touches upon a topic, the ambiguous and the unambiguous verses.
Yeah, I remembered.
So now show me in the Quran where it defines and constitutes what's the ambiguous and the unambiguous.
So in the ayat, actually, when you read further, it says actually, you find that the people who tend to gravitate towards the ambiguous verses are the ones who. Can I have the ayat? Can I have the ayat? Because it says actually after, it just explains, it gives a criteria, if you like.
It's in the same ayat. It's in 3:7.
Yeah, 3:7. Can you get 3:7?
It's in 3:7. It says it right here.
Yeah.
So as for those whose hearts were a deviation,
Yeah.
they follow that which is not entirely clear thereof, seeking fitna, for it is hidden. Oh, that's brackets again, I think. No. And seeking for its hidden meanings, but none knows its hidden meanings save Allah. Right, hold on one second. I agree with you that there are ambiguous and unambiguous verses. But that is not a definition of what an ambiguous verse is.
Well, it's telling you that there are certain people, and we know this amongst us Muslims.
Yeah.
Well, we know this because there are certain people, they go to one ayat, it's not ambiguous, but they just want to prove their point.
No,
with it.
you say it's not ambiguous.
No, I'm saying in the Islamic discourse, intellectual, there has been cases, many people who engage with Islam will know this, there's certain groups amongst Islam who likes to go to particular verses.
Name me one.
The hand one, for example.
No. Name me the groups.
Oh, yeah, the Mutazilites, the Asharis.
No, you say that Mutazila. Like, see, here's the thing, bro. Right? All right. You mentioned the Asharis. Here's an Ashari, right? So you're saying he's a deviant.
No, I'm not saying he's a deviant. I'm talking about.
Wait, the Quran says that though. Listen. So for those who So as for those in whose hearts there is a deviation, if there is a deviation, are you not a deviant?
No, but the verse.
So the Quran is wrong.
No, but you breaking up the verses.
So he doesn't have deviation in his heart.
No, but it also says prior to that it says there are clear and ambiguous ones.
Yeah.
And what it's basically saying to you is that there are disputes. There will be disputes amongst certain verses. I'm not saying that it has to be deviancy because also is there not?
No, hold on a second.
Hold on.
Sorry, go on. Sorry, let you finish, but then I'll come back.
Because there's also a verse where it says. And there are ambiguous and unclear verses, but there's only a few people who understand them, right? There's only
God only understands.
It says God only.
Yeah.
In the Quran.
That's the verse in there.
Yes, that's what it says.
Is there not a verse that says and clear?
the same verse.
Yeah, it's the same verse.
And you will find that there's
right. But here's the problem. Here's the problem.
If I take the whole ayat in its entirety, the way I'm understanding the ayat is that Allah is telling us, look, there's going to be verses where you're going to have disputes. And one criteria, it's not the only criteria, one criteria you find that some people tend to gravitate towards certain ayats. However, the true meaning of these ayats is only with a small piece.
Okay, so here's what you said. Here's what you said. I asked you to define for me from the Quran what constitutes the ambiguous and the unambiguous verses. That was my question. And you have not done that, but what you did say, no, I didn't interrupt, well, I did interrupt you, but not for very long. But what you did was you say, well, the Quran doesn't define it, but it says who will gravitate towards them, right? And then you said, and then we quoted the verse, and it says that those who have a deviation in their heart, he's an Ashari, right? And when I said, well, he's a deviant, you said no. So you're now arguing with your Quran.
I'm not arguing, I'm just
saying. Are the Ashari deviants?
No, I wouldn't say that.
But the Quran, the Quran says that the Ashari deny the reality of the face and the shin.
The Quran has said that.
They don't deny that, by the way.
They do deny them as realities. They say they're metaphors.
Oh yeah.
So they're not realities in and of themselves.
They don't.
They are metaphors to something else. God's actions.
Yeah, they don't. They affirm it, but they don't describe it like some.
The Ashari position is actually much closer to the Christian position than the Salafi position, because all of the descriptions of God's body parts that we find in the Old Testament, we interpret them as metaphors of God's actions. And that's what the Ashari do with the face. But that's not what a Salafi is doing. Now, if you're saying that those who gravitate to the unambiguous verses, right, and you, not me, you listed the Ashari next to the Mutazilites.
No.
You did.
No, you asked me.
I asked you to name groups that did that, and you said Mutazilite and Ashari. So you must be saying that the Ashari are like the Mutazilites, they are deviants.
I'm not saying that. All I'm saying.
On the Mutazilite deviant.
When you asked me where, remember I started with giving you examples of ayats. I said the ayat about the hands. Right? Did I not say that? Yeah. The reason why I said that is because I've understood that you were saying to me, name me examples of ayats, but you meant name me groups. So I misunderstood.
Fair enough. Honest mistake. What I'm saying to you, and you still haven't done it yet, is the Quran is claiming to be a clear explanation of everything. Now let's be fair to the Quran. I can't expect the Quran to tell me everything in history and everything in the cosmos, because it would be a book nay big. But one second. But it would be fair of me to expect the Quran to explain the things that the Quran talks about.
What verse is it?
Oh gosh, bro, it is in Surah 13, 111, and it says right there, and a detailed explanation of everything. That's what it says. I've already checked the Arabic. It does say everything.
Yeah, no,
That's
no,
an
no,
accurate
I just
translation.
wanna have it for myself.
Now, the point is, guys, right, I'm going to be fair to the Quran. I'm not asking it to explain Einstein's theory of relativity or why me and you are all stood here talking, because that could also come under everything. That's unfair. What I'm saying is, everything that the Quran talks about, the Quran should explain. That's what I'm saying. Everything the Quran talks about, it should explain, because it says, and a detailed explanation of everything, and a guide and a mercy for the people who believe. So the Quran has said to you that there's ambiguous verses and unambiguous verses. So where does the Quran tell you what are the ambiguous verses and what are the unambiguous verses? Because if it doesn't, then it is not a detailed explanation of everything and a guide of mercy for the people who believe.
The irony is that the verse itself is very ambiguous, isn't it? But
It's a contradiction. It's a contradiction within your Quran.
I don't think it is, but
So, okay, you say it's not a contradiction. Now explain to me why it isn't.
because I would like to read the verse in its entirety that you.
Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. I'll hold my Quran.
Okay, sorry.
It's 111, this one.
Yeah, 111.
Do you want the Arabic as well?
Yeah.
The Arabic is there.
Interesting.
See, the Quran claims, the Quran challenges me, not you. It says for me to find a contradiction. I found a contradiction. Prove me wrong.
But you know, your Quran is very confusing.
Okay, thank you. So it's not a clear guidance. I believe that.
It's in English
Have you had a
and
good chat with somebody who's really a Quran expert?
I keep trying, but they're all running away.
So if I told you,
Ali
What's the
Dawah
best
ran
answer
away.
you got that for that? Well, Ali Dawah.
Ali Dawah ran away.
it
Mansour
with a
ran
pinch of
away. Shamsi runs away.
What's the best answer you got for that?
the creation of the universe. Is a contradiction as well.
What, sorry?
This is Rad, right?
Yes, it's a right.
What, so, there is contradictions about the description.
Man, the creation of man.
I wouldn't say that that's a contradiction, no.
I say some passages say create out of nothing and it creates.
It's Surah 12, 111.
12.
Best explanation you've had.
I'm on 13.
No worries. I made the same mistake actually.
This one trying to see,
yeah,
sorry.
it's where 12 begins.
Yeah.
13 begins.
Yeah.
What, sorry?
The human being.
What about the human being?
Allah says it creates out of nothing. But
Yes.
Some verses.
Yes.
Some verses out of clay.
Yes.
And out of
The Quran.
Yeah.
The Quran has contradictory descriptions of the creation of man. Yeah, absolutely it does. One part of the Quran says he made us out of water. One part he made us out of a drop of semen.
Yeah.
That in itself is just biologically wrong. You know, creation out of semen.
Perhaps not for laymen, like for us, like laymen that don't understand the true meaning of the Quran.
Yeah.
Perhaps what is your best explanation you've had for that from
So
somebody who
far-
actually knows the scripture?
So
not
far,
Muslims?
no one has yet been able to explain it today. I've asked one,
How about
2, 3. Is it 3 or 4?
For Dawah people.
I've asked 4 Dawah people. So far, no one's been able to explain it. My point to you is, if the Quran gives me a challenge to find a contradiction, I found a contradiction. Now, unless the Muslims can explain to me why my logic is wrong and it isn't a contradiction, then the Quran is not true.
But surely an answer must be in that Quran somewhere.
I would expect that, and that's what I'm looking for. And I've asked Muslims, and they don't seem to be able to find a verse.
They're all laymen here. It's a very difficult, complex.
You bring me a
complex
scholar, I'll
book.
ask him the same question.
But archaic language.
Do you agree that if you cannot find me an explanation, then currently, at least to my knowledge, I'm justified in saying there's a contradiction?
We've actually.
There is an answer in the Quran, must be. It's just that we just simply don't know.
We just read the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's quite interesting. So he's looking for the tafsir as well.
That's a very complex book, Bob.
Yeah.
What?
When do your research?
Qualified.
Brother,
But you see, you know, any text. I could go to the Bible, any text of
qualified,
ancient. It's very
to
difficult
really understand that
to
book.
know
Yeah.
everything. You know, you have
Archaic
to go
language
back and
first,
stick it
Are you a Muslim yourself, sir?
yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to go,
Yes.
but I appreciate the fact that you've listened and that you've listened intently. And
a very interesting
certainly.
argument.
And I want to
Very
give you a
interesting.
gift. This is for you. This is my gift to you.
Yeah, I respect you. I'll
Please.
accept
Yeah.
it.
Have you got? I know you've got a Bible, haven't you?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Can I read it?
Do you actually read it?
Yes, I have been. Recently.
Do you read it
I've
without
recently.
just trying to find an argument
No,
against
I read it
Christianity?
with admiration at times.
Okay, go on.
Look at this.
Which surah and Quran?
So this is Surah 9 and 11. So
9
before 11, right?
and 1 second. Surah 9. I promise you, I can count, so I do know that 9:11 comes before 12:11.
Yeah.
1:1. You know. I know you guys think I can't count, but I can.
No, listen, I don't really have much history with you, so I'm trying to be as neutral as possible.
And I appreciate it. I genuinely do.
No matter how hard we try, let me tell you something. the Quran is a very because it's from high power, from the intelligent designer, right? So you can understand it's going to be a very complex being.
English.
Surah. So,
Even in Arabic,
So
I know
his
Arabic,
words-
but I can't understand it. Like
so
this.
Surah 9:11. What
Yeah.
got?
Okay, so maybe even if I go one before, yeah. How many signs is there in the heavens and the earth?
Wait, am I in the right place?
Go back to start from 5 to 7. 105, 107.
What? So 9:7. Surah 9, Ayah 7.
Oh no, we're talking about the one that you brought. You know the verse about the Quran being clear.
Oh, so Surah
12. Surah 12,
Surah 12.
and then start from 105.
Okay.
And then I read down.
Right. Okay. Let's.
Well, Ali, nice to see you
Right.
praying, though. I have to say, Ali, nice to see you praying. Then.
Surah 12. What?
105. Yeah, 105.
105.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Are you?
105.
Yeah,
Okay.
Okay.
Can we read this quickly? And how many? I'll do the reading, and you
Okay.
can hear me read it.
Okay.
And how many a sign in the heavens and the earth they pass by while they are averse therefrom, and most of them believe not in Allah, except that they attribute partners unto Him. Do they then feel secure from coming against them of the covering veil of the torment of Allah, or of the coming against them of the hour, all of the sudden, while they perceive it not? Say, this is my way. I invite unto Allah with sure knowledge, I and whoever follows me. Sorry, I'm just skipping the brackets.
Yeah. Sure.
And glorified and exalted is Allah, and I am not of the mushrikin. Oh no, that's still a bracket. Any but them men unto whom we revealed from among the people of the townships, have they not travelled in the land and seen what was at the end of those who were before them? And verily the home of the hereafter is the best of those who fear Allah and obey Him. Just skipping the brackets.
Yeah, sure.
Do you not then understand? Bracket. Until when the messenger gave up hope and thought that they were denied, then came to them our help, and whoever we willed were rescued, and our punishment cannot be warded off from the people who are marjimum. Indeed, in their stories there is a lesson for men of understanding. It is not a forged statement, but a confirmation of which were before it, bracket, and a detailed explanation of everything, and a guide and a mercy for the people who believe.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
How does that?
What do you make of that?
So what that's saying to me is that the Quran is meant to be a warning, okay, and it's a warning against the unbeliever of the coming judgment of Allah, and that the judgment of Allah cannot be escaped. It's inevitable. It is that juggernaut coming down the track that you can't get away from, and that they have some stories that they have which have some good lessons in them, but those stories are not the Quran, and the Quran isn't a forged story. So the people were accusing Muhammad of making up a story that they had heard before from someone else, which actually historically is true. We see the evidence for that in the Talmuds and in the Gnostic Gospel, the infancy Gnostic Gospel. But the Quran is not forged, and it is a clear explanation of everything and a guidance to mankind. So that's what I understand by that. So I would expect the Quran to guide you in saying what is the ambiguous and the unambiguous verses, and you so far have not yet been able to do that. You've simply argued that people will be drawn to.
But that's what the Quran is saying. It's not.
Exactly. But the point is that doesn't define for me what the ambiguous and the unambiguous verses are.
Maybe it's not sufficient for you. It's sufficient
Because
for me.
the groups accuse one another of deviancy.
Of course they will.
That Ash'ari that left us earlier, he accuses Salafi of polytheism. He said it to me over there.
Yeah. Okay. Can I now? The way I've understood it is similarly to you, but I add more flavor to it. So here, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is clearly talking about, first of all, incidences that took place prior to the Quran. And those incidences are being confirmed. And when Allah says He will describe things in detail, then I think of incidences in the Quran where Allah describes those stories. For example, the story of Yusuf alayhi salam. Yusuf alayhi salam's story, and this is the only story, by the way, in the Qur'an that is described in a chronological order.
Yep.
Which you're aware of. The Qur'an does not really describe things in chronological order per se. So when Allah talks about the things that He will confirm and things that He will explain in detail, are those things that whenever a story does come up, for example, the story of Abraham and his father,
Yep.
it's explained in detail.
Yep.
So that's why I understood it.
Yep.
But muhkamat and these ayat that are ambiguous are more verses to do with of metaphysical nature.
And hear me clearly.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, you have no justification for saying that the ambiguous verses are those verses.
Why? Yeah.
Okay, I'll leave it there.
Next week.
It's lovely speaking to you.
Thank you.
Click up that Bible, read it. Come and ask me questions about it, bro.
I do.
Yeah.
And you know, the thing is with me, which is a bit. With me, the thing is that when I read the Bible, I don't read the Bible to find mistakes in it. I read the Bible to find connections in it to Islam.
Considering the company you keep, I struggle to believe that. But that might be me being harsh.
Yeah.
That might be me being harsh. Anyway, it's nice talking to you.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you
Look
very
after
much.
yourself.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, so let's do it. Are we done?
Sami, please. Sami, be nice.
Sammy,
be nice.
Sammy, if you would like to have a debate, let's do it next week.
Did you find the verse?
Yes, I did.
Yes,
You just weren't here for it. What?
Can we have a 2-minute chat?
2-minute chat, absolutely.
No. Okay.
2-minute chat.
Just
Go
give me
on.
reference.
Off camera,
Just give me
though.
Sorry? Off camera.
So do the quick wrap up. Sami, let him do a wrap up.
No. I want only
No.
to give me the verse.
No,
Give me the
no,
verse.
no,
Give me the reference.
no.
Did you like?
So, what's your?
Yeah, so my chat is
Off camera.